Welcome back everyone. Today we're gonna talk about the Bard in Pathfinder Kingmaker. The Bard is the artist, he's a special kid, he's a jack of all trades, he's dabbled a little bit in everything, but he's still not perfected anything really. So, why would you ever pick up a Bard? Well, if we talk about the power scale that I talked about before when I talked about the Fighter and Barbarian, if you haven't seen those videos, then check them out, link in the description. The Bard is balanced around the fact that he has very much utility. I would say that he's 100% utility, 0% combat prowess. If you compare that to the Fighter, which is 100% combat prowess, 0% utility. So it's kind of a reversed Fighter or a reversed Wizard, which is also... Wizard is a little bit more utility. Fighter is only combat. But the Bard is only utility. That's the only reason, in my opinion, to pick him up. He has a couple of other things, and they kind of try to lure you into doing different weird stuff with the Bard. But in my opinion, the Bard is there so that he can buff your team in two ways. First, you have the Inspire Courage, which gives a +1 morale bonus on saving throws against charm and fear effects. Doesn't matter much. You're probably gonna have someone cast heroism on you anyways, so this bonus is probably not gonna be relevant. But you gain a +1 competence bonus on attack and weapon damage rolls, and competence bonus is very, very difficult to get a hold of, because remember, in Pathfinder Kingmaker, if you have a bonus of the same type, they don't stack. But a competence bonus is rare to get hold of. Usually spells don't give competence bonuses, they give morale bonuses or enhancement bonuses. So if you get a competence bonus, that's quite rare. And that's probably gonna be in effect for your entire party, which is quite good. But if you did this only for Inspire Courage, then I would still say that, because it's only going to be effective for like 2 or 3 like melee characters that you have in your party, maybe some summons or something are also going to get this effect. But because Inspire Courage only works for those characters, if you think about like effectiveness and damage output, the Bard is not that effective. It's just better to have one more character which is a melee character, or which is a character which has a like an animal companion with you or something. The Bard in by itself, in my opinion, Inspire Courage doesn't weigh up the fact that he's useless in combat if you only take him for combat. But that's not what the Bard's role is. In my opinion, Bard is a decent and valuable thing to have in Even Unfair, because he unloads the responsibilities of all other characters in your party. He makes it so that you can make all your characters in your party very min-maxed. You don't have to spec into intelligence, for instance, on your Barbarian, because you don't need to pass any skill checks. You can maybe just go your only point into athletics or something, and the Bard can cover all your skill checks need. He's going to be your skill check monkey, and he's going to be the one carrying all your utility items, because there are some very, very good utility items which you probably don't want to put on your other characters, because they don't give you any bonus to stats and stuff like that, but they do give you some very, very good things, like good summons. Not to spoil too much, but there's a very good headgear piece that you can find later on in the game, which has a very, very strong summon, but it doesn't give any bonuses to like intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, so you don't really want to put it on any other characters, because they probably want a headgear which gives like +6 to all stats, or all mental stats, for instance. But the Bard can easily carry that headpiece, and he can carry all your utility items and all your scrolls and everything. And he's just there to unload everything, and that makes your party even stronger. So he both has Inspire Courage, and he enables your party to do their thing, to specialize in only the things that they want to specialize in. That's the role of the Bard, and that's why they're actually even decent in Pathfinder Kingmaker, even on unfair difficulty. Because the other characters can then focus on their thing. So, he has Inspire Courage, he also has some Bard talents, but in my opinion, the only thing that the Bard should be focused on, he should be staying mostly out, in the side, very, very sidelines of combat, only so that he can, be in reach for Inspire Courage. But he just, because he doesn't have any spells like the Sorceress or Wizard, which can make themselves like invisible or something and go away, he doesn't have anything like that, so he just needs to be very close to, the edge of battle. And sometimes in the late game, you might not even want to go in with your Bard, honestly. You might want to have him stay back behind your party Maybe just buff your rangers or something with shoot with arrows. But he's so fragile, and his use is just, you know, removing those traps, getting through all the skill checks, lore checks, all things like that. So he just appears for those skill checks and then just hides behind everyone for the rest of the duration. So that's what he's supposed, in my opinion, to do with that. He's well versed, which means he's resistant to bardic performances. And too much in this game. He can inspire greatness, he can inspire a soothing performance, and he can inspire heroics. These are, in my opinion, pretty much the same as Inspire Courage. In most cases, the Inspire Courage is just going to be stronger than these. If you look at this, for instance, Inspire Heroics, this gives a +4 morale bonus on saving throws and +4 dodge bonus on AC. Dodge bonus, you're probably going to have to your AC anyways, and morale bonus on saving throws, you're probably going to have anyways, because you're probably going to have heroism or greater heroism on your characters at this point. So heroics won't stack with that, so I would just stick with Inspire Courage probably the entire game. There are some other cute things here, like Fascinate, for instance, which you might cost. And by the way, Bard is the worst character in the game to have multiples of. Of course, you don't want to have more than one skill monkey, because one skill monkey can take care of all skill checks, and none of their things stack. As you can see here, Fascinate, for instance, makes a character just stand still and be fascinated if they fail a save, but the Bard cannot attempt to fascinate a creature again for 24 hours, so they gain immunity to fascinate once you've casted it. So if you have multiple bards, then the first bard, when he fails, when the creature succeeds with his save, the second bard's fascinate won't work against him, so it's useless to have multiples. Also, Inspire Courage doesn't stack in multiples. So if you're gonna go with a bard, go with only one bard, never go with more than one bard. All the subclasses for the bard are fine, none are exceptional, but we're gonna go through them. There's the Archaeologist, which doesn't have Inspire Courage, but instead he trades that for having... First you have Archaeologist's Luck, which means he can give himself a luck bonus on attack rolls, saving throws, and most importantly, skill checks. You don't care about attack rolls, you don't probably care about saving throws, because you're gonna just stay back the entire time, but skill checks, that's what you're there for, so that's very good. He also gains Clever Explorer, which gives half his level to Trickery and Perception, which is very useful, because that can be used to disarm traps. And then at 6th level, he gains Confident Explorer, which means that he can always take a 10 on Trickery checks, which means that if you have invested into Trickery, and if you invested your skill points into skill-focused Trickery, for instance, which you should do anyway with your Bard, then you will probably never fail any, removing of traps. So that's very good. Then we have Thundercaller. Thundercaller is a weird character. He's trying to be a little bit of a damage dealer. He has Thunder Call, which gives a deafening peal of thunder, blasting an area in a 10-foot range. Every character takes 1d8 of sonic damage, which is very, very low, and then it increases to 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. But the damage is very, very low. Compared to your other characters, it will be absolutely lowest, so it won't matter too much. The same with Stormcall. Doesn't do too much. 3d6 point of electricity damage. There's this cute thing which, if you have something which can summon an air elemental, then you can deal some extra damage with this, but I wouldn't count on it. Also, there's this super weird thing where you can incite rage in your enemies, so your enemies get your Barbarian rage. I don't know why you would ever do this, but maybe there's a weird case where this is good. I haven't thought of, but sure. Also, I didn't mention about the Bard. The Bard has one of the weirdest things at level 20. They have very good ability, which you can just kill something outright. Weird if they fail a save. Note though that it doesn't say this here. But they have a thing called Deadly Performance here. They need to perform one full round, and then your opponent gets a will save, and if they fail that will save, they die. But it doesn't say it here, but that effect, the Deadly Performance, is a death magic effect, which means that if your opponents have immunity to death magic, which most late game things will have, the Deadly Performance won't work. But against some things which don't have immunity to death magic, it will work, and it will just slay them outright, which is quite amazing. And it's funny that the Bard would get that at level 20, I think. But it's level 20, you might not even get here. I didn't even get there with my unfair party. I got to level 16 when I completed the game, so who knows, you might not even get to deadly performance. Then we also have Flame Dancer. Flame Dancer is also weird. All these classes are a little bit weird. You gain some added utility in that you can add fire resistance, first 10, then 20, then 30 to your party. Probably doesn't matter too much, probably because it has a wizard which can do this better, which can give you immunity to fire, but no. The thing about all these classes is that you don't lose out on too much. It doesn't matter too much if you go with a Flame Dancer, or Thundercaller, or Archaeologist. But as you can see here, the most important thing is that you retain your Inspired Courage for Flame Dancer, and you do. Thundercaller retains it. Archaeologist does not, but instead the Archaeologist has the Archaeologist Luck, and they have the Clever Explorer. They also have some rogue things, such as like Uncanny Dodge and Advanced Talents from rogues. You're probably not gonna hit anything with this guy anyways, especially not on unfair if you play on that difficulty. So I don't know. If I would go for an Archaeologist, it would be for this thing right here, Clever Explorer and Confident Explorer, so that you're able to disarm traps easily. As I said, Flame Dancer has this weird thing where you can make the things resistance to fire. It also has Fan the Flames, which makes him add Burning Hands, Burning Arc, and Fireball to his list of spells. Which is also weird, because probably you don't want to cast these spells with your Bard, or well, you can, but it's not gonna be nearly enough damage. Not gonna be as much damage as if you're casting with a Wizard or a Sorceress, which at this point probably can cast, you know, empowered fireballs and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know exactly. Doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter. You can maybe even role play these, in my opinion, because this guy, as I said, he's the guy who has the utility items. He's the guy who passes skill checks. So let's go into how we build a board. This is not going to be a complete build guide. I'm not going to go up to level 20 and everything. I'm just gonna talk about some general things. I'm not going to talk about multi-classing. We're going to do special build guides, like how to create a special character later on, like how to create a monk, paladin, dragon disciple, and stuff like that. There's going to be build guides like that, but this is just going to be a general overview, which introduces you to the character and how to build them and what the strengths are of the character. So, let's see here. If we go into... Okay, we have class. We're gonna go into skills here. This stat distribution is something like I would recommend. I think the best class, hands down, for the bard is the human. For many classes it doesn't matter too much, but I would definitely recommend a human, because they you can go with other classes, but the thing is, you want a class which is skilled and can gain a bonus to one stat, and that, for instance, the human can do. There are other classes which can do this. But so here we're gonna get 22 intelligence, and we also have one extra skill point, and this makes it so that we can, as you see here with all our skill points, we can get trickery, stealth, knowledge arcana, knowledge world, lore, nature, lore, religion, perception, and use magic device. And I've selected these in this particular order because I think that your main character should be the one who has persuasion. If your bard happens to be your main character, then yes, you can put point into persuasion here. Otherwise, you don't need it there. Also, probably your bard is not going to be the best guy to pass your athletics checks. That's going to be something like your fighter or your barbarian. They're probably just going to have one skill point or two skill points per level, but they can easily put that point into athletics every level and have good enough athletics so that they can pass athletics checks. Same for mobility. We're not really there because we don't have good dexterity, so instead go for the other ones. And try to, every level, just put one skill point into everything, and that point, and also go with all your abilities into skill focuses. So when we go into abilities here, oh, did I talk about the other things here first? Constitution, you don't need too much. You don't need strength, you don't need dexterity, because you're not gonna hit anything ever, because you're... as you see, you have -2 even on our attack rolls. You don't get any good attack bonus on this character, so you're never gonna hit anything, especially not in unfair. You're never ever gonna hit anything with this character. Constitution you don't need because you're gonna stay out of harm's way all the time. Your role is to pass skill checks, as I said. So intelligence is very important because that gives you the maximum modifier. Also being human or anything which has skill is very important. Wisdom doesn't matter too much. You could go down to something like this, could be fine. But I also don't like to go down too low in will save. So you have to do something where you balance wisdom and constitution in a good way on this character. And also wisdom is very good because it gives bonuses to all these lore and perception checks. So I wouldn't go down too low there. Then we have charisma, which is only 16, but if this is your main character, it's going to be 18, but this is a mercenary, so we have little lower stats here. You don't need higher than 16, because 6 is going to be the highest level spells you can cast anyways on this character, and you're going to find gear which boosts your charisma, so you don't need to have more than 16 on your body. 16 would be the maximum you can ever utilize, because level 6 spells is the maximum you can ever cast. And that is pretty much it for the ability scores. Then if you go to abilities, this guy should just be everything. Everything that has to do with skills. So you could do, for instance, you can do skill focus, trickery, for instance. It's a good one. Skill focus, trickery, you can do all the deceitful, everything that's connected to skill points, and that gives you extra skill points for your skill checks is good. So I would just go with, let's see here, skill focus perception, skill focus trickery. Sure. This is good enough. Now, passing perception checks is very important. This means that you can find more items in the game. Passing trickery checks means that you can disarm traps, and that's also very important. So that's something I would recommend. For spells, you're gonna gain spells very slowly, but what I would recommend is Expeditious Retreat, because you want to stay away at all points with this character from any type of danger, because you are kind of useless in combat. All you can really provide is your aura, and that's about it. So Expeditious Retreat is quite good. Other than that, not too much that you need either. Maybe a Remove Fear could be pretty useful. Because that makes it so that if you cast this, you can remove fear effects, and you can give a +4 morale bonus against fear effects for 10 which is quite useful, because there are a lot of fear effects. Later on in the game, you can go for something like, I don't know, invisibility and just hide in a corner if you play on unfair. You can do it. If you play on lower difficulties, you can maybe go for a combat bard. You can maybe go for either some try to do some spell casting action where you, I don't know, cast a fireball or someone, maybe go with a thundercaller, or you can go with, I don't know, a crossbow or a ranged weapon of some sort and shoot your opponents, and maybe you're gonna hit on lower difficulties. But on higher difficulties, no, you're not gonna hit anything. I mean, it's even difficult for the classes that are melee, that gain 1 attack bonus every round, and that spec heavily into hitting something to actually hit something. Which means that for a bard, yes, it's essentially impossible for them to hit anything. Except natural 20s, of course. And then you can just select anything here. And for the alignment, they are not restricted in any way. Bards, though, are not super good to multi-class, really, in my opinion. I mean, sure, if you want to just pick up bardic performance on one level and just have some utility spells, maybe if you're going into Red Dragon Disciple, that could be, or Dragon Disciple, that could be a way to just splash 1 level Bard. But except for that, you kind of want to dig everything into Bard, because you want to have all those extra skill levels, and you want to gain your Bard levels on all those skill checks and stuff like that. And your job, as I said, your job is a skill monkey. So that's what you're supposed to do. So that's pretty much my Bard guide. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.